Hello. How you doing? I hope you're well. It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? This one's going to be a little different. Republicans and Democrats, red and blue, right and left. Let's take a moment. Throw Republican and Democrat, those two words, out the window for a little bit here. I want to focus on the ideological, conceptual qualities of these two things that we're talking about, the right and the left. Look at them in terms of energies. I like to think in terms of energy and spectrums. So, an individual, the right, collective, the left, these two things in and of themselves are not right or wrong. They're not good or bad. They just are. It's not until they start doing things or becoming things, being things, that they take on a different quality. So, an individual, they can decide that they're going to be honest, they're going to persevere, they're going to be kind, they're going to make sure their thought processes are useful, they're going to learn how to regulate their emotions. Then they kind of move up the spectrum. The collective decides it's going to create a world in which individuals can do all of these things, can develop honesty, integrity. When the individual develops these things, they automatically bring the collective up. They contribute to the collective. And there comes a point in my own experience that I can only grow as an individual when I am helping the collective. So these two things are inherently tied together. If we go down to the other end of the spectrum. Now, before I go into this part, I'm not going to disclose my personal perspectives and feelings and beliefs and thoughts on all of this. I'm trying to present this and look at this in a way that the world sees it. We'll say the Facebook lens is how we're looking at this part. Because that's where the battle is mostly taking place outside of our minds. It's on our phones. So the low end of the individual, the right, you get these mass shootings that are committed by lone gunmen who pick a group of people and decide that they're going to kill them. And the reason that it's just a fact. These people were or are still, if they're alive still, not all of them, but a lot of them are openly right-wing, radical right-wing. White supremacy's in there, which is one of the radical offshoots of the extreme right. So these lone gunmen who go out and kill people thought that it was a good idea to do that. Or they were so unable to control their emotions and thoughts and swept away by the tides of hatred and suffering that that's what they did. Let's go to the low end of the left. And again, not necessarily representative of my feelings on this whole thing. I'm looking at this from a perspective, the Facebook lens. The left the liberals, the left, they go out and they loot and they riot and they're in the streets, and if you resist, you get shot. That's the perspective that the right has on the left right now. Now, my perspective is I do understand that there are people who are protesting. I'm one of them who doesn't identify as a liberal left or a right anything at all. I just see shit's fucked up and something needs to change. So, and then there's also videos of police officers smashing windows and inciting these riots. So what happens is a mob of people, a collective group of people, regardless of who starts it, whether it's random ass people who are in the mob just get swept away and start breaking things, and then it just builds. Somebody else started it to incite it. It doesn't really matter what, because the end result is a big group of people who have somewhat of a similar ideology end up destroying cities, businesses, and all kinds of stuff. Now there's a lot of people protesting who don't do that. I don't loot and riot, you know. But it happens. So this is the low end of the left from the Facebook perspective. Over here you got mobs of people destroying their own towns, and over here you got individuals who reach a breaking point because the world doesn't line up with their whacked out thinking and they decide to go shoot people. Both sides reach this point of desperation and suffering because they were led by their thoughts and their emotions to do such a thing. Now, I have a certain level of compassion for people who become a slave to their inner demons, because I'm in recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction, and I know what it's like to not be able to regulate my thinking and my emotions to the point where it's so loud and dark and heavy that I end up using drugs and drinking, destroying myself and hurting people around me. So I do have a certain level of compassion for what goes on with these things. However, at the end of the day, we're responsible for taking care of our impact on the world as a collective and as individuals and as collectives. Obviously, there's been a lot of failure, and the levels of the individuals, the families that raise the individuals, the neighborhoods, the cities, countries, society at large, has made this whole mess. No matter what side you're on, for this to be happening on any side, to me, is a very obvious symptom of a deeper condition. If we focus on these things that are symptoms of a sicker society at large, society that's shaped by lawmakers who make laws more in accordance with this really fucked up version of capitalism for this billionaire class, who really are the ones making the laws that are made specifically to produce individuals who are consumers and producers themselves. Consume and produce and produce and consume. The society doesn't really gear individuals to develop a collective with the goal of developing an individual's authentic calling in life. It's not very nurturing to the individual's authenticity. And if the individual is forced into this cookie cutter mold through medications, through being indoctrinated into all different kinds of beliefs that do not nourish their individuality. When you force somebody to be of an individual that they're not, of an individual of fake authenticity, there's no authenticity, inauthenticity. There's going to be jams in their emotional and thought patterns that are going to eventually get built up and explode. Where the left and the right come into this is largely we've been led away from our individuality, which naturally, if we are allowed to be authentic, then this natural rising of the better qualities of the individual and the collective just happen. When we develop as individuals, we help the world. And when we help the world, we develop as individuals. The collective and the individual need each other. They don't exist without each other. But we're too focused on this stuff down here, this Facebook garbage, trash. I made this video because I feel like we're in a very dire fucking time right now. And some outside of the box thinking is going to be required if we're going to get through this. I think we are going to get through it. However, from my own experience, again, the only way that we stop hurting ourselves is when we've had enough pain. So collectively, this might be the case. So Republicans and Democrats are going to think they hate each other for longer. But really, when you go online and you watch what's happening, they both have the same sickness. They both are ready to metaphorically riot each other's Facebook pages and shoot each other's Facebook page. It's the same violence that it gets way down here, but it's just with your thumbs on the internet, just blasting each other. And the only way that's going to stop, I think, is when it runs itself out. I hope there's the least amount of death as possible for that to happen. Fortunately, we have infinity. Anyways, I just wanted to present this little brainstorm I had. I hope you're doing great. I love you. Good night.